Welcome back to another amazing episode of Krusty Car News, where we pull out all the stops with 5 amazing news stories, with the first story being, can Jeep survive with these brutal sales results? The second story breaking, the truck market is about to crash like we've never seen it in 2025. The third story, we want to talk about the car dealership and how that entire business model is about to change. The fourth story, shocking news by Stellantis and what's going on with Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler products. It's absolutely devastating for the manufacturer. And the fifth story, why Ram trucks aren't selling. We're going to break it down, do a walkthrough, go shopping, and share with you the whole story. Drop your keys off, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the ride. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. First story, can Jeep survive? We know sales have been through the toilet. With high prices of their Wagoneers, their Jeep Grand Cherokees, it's not uncommon to see six-figure dollars on these sticker sheets of a lot of these vehicles. Even the Wrangler is up to $80,000, $90,000 in Canadian funds. It's no wonder they're not selling, and what does the future look like for Jeep? Jeep's incentives have been extreme this year. Sales are drastically down, 42% on the sales of the average Jeeps from 5 years ago.
Money became the top priority.
A lot of the vehicles are not selling, primarily because cost and quality. We're seeing inventory, Jeeps, Dodges, you see Durangos, we see Wranglers piling up. And of course, the quality's going down, recalls every which way from Sunday. You're talking potential fire hazards for plug-in hybrid Wranglers. The recons, something that's been brewing. And yet, these vehicles are not selling because of more than just quality issues. It's the pricing. Pricing has been through the roof. And Stellantis has felt that Jeep can be promoted as more of a luxury product. But vehicles like the Wranglers is not a luxury vehicle, it's an off-roader. Well, here we have a Rubicon Jeep Wrangler. This is the 4-door version. Obviously 4xe, we get the hard top, it's beautiful. But what do we have right here? These are not going to be cheap. And it's a Wrangler Rubicon X 4xe. It has a pile of options. Look, base sticker, $73,770. But the grand total, I can't believe this. $85,655. See, they're preaching to the wrong group. Then, of course, along comes the Wagoneer, this full-fledged, full-scale, large, upscale SUV. But who's buying that? I mean, if people are spending $125,000, they're looking at a BMW, Audi, or Lexus. They're not thinking Jeep. And even the Jeep Grand Cherokee in certain high trim levels, we're seeing those up over $100,000 Canadian. Vehicles like the Compass, I've personally seen them at $55,000, absolutely out of touch with the core buyer.
When Stellantis bought us, immediately I saw the difference.
Vehicles like the Cherokee have been discontinued a couple of years ago because they just weren't selling. The Grand Cherokees, although popular, is chock full of technology and, of course, more woes when it comes to recalls and reliability challenges. Sales have been so bleak in 2024 that 2 of the most popular brands by the Jeep manufacturer, the Wrangler and the Jeep Grand Cherokee, were put on hiatus for a few days just to slow production. The lots, people were parking their vehicles on curbs, roadside, parking them in the ditches just to find extra space for them. Trucks were showing up after trucks are showing up. Of course, allocations were piling up. The dealers couldn't handle anymore, and yet the OEM said, no, you've got to sell these, and they kept pushing them out to the field. How long can this chaos go on with these dealers charging this sort of money? We saw back during the shortages in 22 that Stellantis thought they, in all their infinite wisdom, would get ahead of all of the other car manufacturers. During the shortages, they went double time on production to get vehicles to market. And it backfired. They put too many vehicles, they jacked up their prices, and now we're seeing these prices are a slap in the face to the consumer. Oh, $100,000. They were just piling up. Days supply was rising. Incentives, even though they were rising, still weren't selling enough products. With incentives of $5,000, $7,500, $10,000, even more, still was not enough to get people in the door to buy these vehicles. Again, touted as something that's more luxury branded, people weren't interested in that. When they think Jeep, they think off-roading, capability, 4-wheel drive system. They don't think luxury, and they don't want to pay Audi dollars for a Jeep product. So I have a few projections of what I believe the future for the brand of Jeep actually looks like. Can they survive this downfall, this constant decline, and this race to the bottom in terms of sales? Does Jeep even have a future in North America or anywhere in the globe? Well, the long answer is yes. The short answer is really not so much. And really a big part of that has to do with how they survive, the products they continue to push out, and how they intend to focus on the buyers and targeting the right buyers for the right product. Only Stellantis can fix what's broken over at Jeep. Sales are in the tank, prices are too high, and the quality is abysmal. So we'll have to wait and see what 2025 rolls out. Clearly, Stellantis is struggling. They got rid of the CEO, and things are about to change drastically. The second story, breaking news, the truck market is about to collapse in 2025. We're seeing it everywhere. Rams, Fords, GM, and even Toyota is struggling with devastating sales results. The only way they were able to sell anything was with extreme incentives at the end of the year. Outside of that, they would not move any metal. Let's talk about it. All of the major manufacturers have sold record amounts of trucks. As a matter of fact, even Ford, even with all of these extra inventory sitting around, would you believe it that they've sold a pile of inventory? How are we about to embark on the biggest truck market crash that we've seen in years? Well, we have to explain. But first of all, it starts with the pricing. And we know that the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It's no big surprise. Ford's been jacking up prices year over year on all of their full-size trucks, cars, and SUVs. As a matter of fact, we see prices continually rise. The Explorers, prices are going up this year. The only vehicles that are taking a cut are the Escapes, and that's only because they're discontinuing the models. And even with that said, they're only slightly discounting. $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000 on the top trim levels means that it's a marginal decrease. 6 to 7% is all you're going to get. But with that said, all of the major trucks like the F-150s and F-Series trucks are going up every single year. I mean, look right here. Let's take a look at this great little F-150. As you'll see, this is XLT. It's a very mid-range truck, and we have an XLT 2024. It's got the 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost truck right here. There's a marginal list of options. As you know, it does come with a modicon of features. This one does have fabric seats in it, no sunroof, so it's a mid-level truck. But what we're looking at is a $76,000 price tag on this unit. Out the door, over $80,000. And did you realize the fourth quarter of 2024 saw about a 21% increase in sales from 2023? So then how in fact could the crash be coming and imminent? Well, we know the recalls are rising on Fords, and they're spending a lot of money trying to fix a lot of the problem areas, as well as the manufacturing of a lot of their electric vehicles comes at a significant cost. They're losing tens of thousands of dollars on the sales of every one of their electric vehicles. So if they sold 21% more vehicles in 2024 fourth quarter than they did in 23, how are things so bad? Well, there's a secret behind this recipe. They actually only sold about 2% more vehicles in the entire year of 2024 than 2023. And that is more telling. The average transaction sale price of these vehicles is actually supported by between 7 to 10% of that price. That's right, a lot of these vehicles were heavily incentivized. As we rounded out the end of the year, we've never seen incentives to the level that we have in this year, 2024, just to move a lot of this metal. These vehicles are not moving, so every manufacturer has jacked up the major incentives to try to push a lot of these vehicles like this out the door. Without the incentives, this vehicle would not sell. I mean, with vehicles like this, we have a King Ranch Super Duty right here. It's a Tremor. These are not cheap. And it makes you wonder how people are able to afford to pay for this, because here we have a Super Duty. This has the diesel engine and it's an F350 going for $130,000. I mean, who is spending 130 grand plus taxes out the door, $145,000 for a full-size F-size truck? Some of these sales are also coming on the backs of Nissan. Of course, the Titan has been discontinued and the Ram just can't sell a truck to save their life. And Toyota's had some troubles in the last little while with some of the problematic engines they had in the new twin-turbo V6 Tundras, so they garnered a little bit of rough reputation. But since then, it looks like the first couple years were problematic. Since then, things are definitely on the upclimb, and these vehicles actually have been selling fairly well. Now, what we're seeing over the Tundra side is year over year, 27% increase from 2023 from 2023 to 2024, and the last quarter we saw as much as almost a third, 29% increase in sales, means that these vehicles are actually selling fairly well. but for how long? I mean, there was a time when you actually would not see any of this inventory, but now we're getting Tundras upon Tundras upon Tundras, and we have another row over here, more Tundras available for sale, a whole pile of them, and this is their extended lot. This isn't even their main car lot. They clearly have a lot of extra inventory laying around because they're now not selling like they expected to. It still begs the question, expensive trucks like this one here, we have a single rear wheel. It's obviously an HD truck. As you'll notice, the notes here, the HD, they have the beautiful headlights, and I love the grille on these new full-size heavy-duty trucks. You get lots of chrome detailing all the way around. It's a 3500, so it's a 1-ton truck, and you'll notice it's a single rear wheel. You can get these in a dually as well. I love the flares on these vehicles, very, very nice. LED tail lights, you get this split gate on here, you get the big hitch obviously, and a means to step up because this truck is quite substantial and quite large. You also get the rear slider, but you would, because this is pretty much a full load truck. As you notice, you have lots of chrome and detailing. This one is a Denali HD, so this is one of their top trim level trucks. With the Duramax, you get the 6.6. Oh, right there, how much? Well, the Sierra Denali 3500 crew cab is a whopping $120,000 right there. So who can actually afford such a vehicle? And then there's Ram sales. As we notice, we got a whole lineup of Rams here. We've got some commercial vehicles over here, and look all the way down there, there's all kinds of Rams that way, and there's even more parked over along that front row. Rams have not been selling all that well, and the decline of sales by any Stellantis vehicle has been very alarming. Here's another row of Rams as well. And you've got vehicles like the Limited, you've got plain Janes with basically steel wheels on it, like that one, like this one here, 4x4s, big horns. You get all kinds, most of them 4-wheel drive. You get everything from regular cabs, 4x4 crew cabs, you name it, they are there. We've got 22s, 23s, 24s, and of course brand new 25s on these car lots. And yet a lot of them are not selling. Now, what we're seeing is sales in the Ram side absolutely devastating compared to any of their competition. I mean, Ram has been plagued with all kinds of quality issues, traction control problems. You know, there have been engine issues, and sadly with the diesels, they're just not what they used to be. And unfortunately, the quality control in general for Ram has not been where it's at. On top of it, Stellantis, which is the owner of Ram, feels that for some reason all of their vehicles should be escalated to a luxury car level, and so they jacked prices up, and they got away with it for a while. But now that the dust settled, you're seeing a lot more vehicles available by all kinds of competition. Now Ram can no longer get away with it, and sales have been plummeting to the toilet. Ram has seen as much as a 16% decline in sales from 23 to 24 overall for the whole year, and the year end looked like it was closer to 7%, but that was only because of all of the massive incentives, particularly around the classics and the tradesman vehicle. And unfortunately, things are getting very desperate over at Stellantis headquarters, and Ram being one of the major contributors in the North American market alongside of Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler, which is only a minivan. There's just lacking innovation. The product line isn't quite there. Now, unfortunately, the latest 2025, they've virtually eliminated the V8 engine, and they're only coming out more or less with the Hurricane twin turbo straight 6 engine, which a lot of the classic V8 muscle car lovers and truck buyers would have absolutely nothing to do with. They want their V8s, and sadly, they soft rolled into this straight 6, and nobody really is buying. But where the crash looks like it's imminent is in 2025, where all of these manufacturers are only able to push this metal out the door because of heavy incentives, and we're seeing it's the incentivized, that fourth quarter where we're seeing the big sales pushes. That's the only way these vehicles are going to move. Unfortunately, with each OEM jacking up prices, the consumer is running out of money quick, fast, and in a hurry. But the big push here is what Ram decides to do. And Ram, there's allegedly some conversation and rumors that Ram itself may be looking and toying with the idea of chopping 30 to 35% off across the board of all of their brand new inventory. And if they do that, what do you think that's going to do with their competition from Ford, GM, Chevy, maybe even Toyota? They're going to have to compete. So let's all just hope that 30, 40%, maybe even 50% decreases actually hit the car industry. That could mean immense deals for you and for me if we're looking for a new truck. The third story is the future of the car dealership business model. Obviously, they have lost trust. People don't trust dealerships. They don't have faith. They assume that every car dealership is about to pull the wool over their eyes. They also assume they're about to get screwed at every single transaction. And unfortunately, the business model has to change. And we're going to talk about it. With technology being a major factor and consumers being able to shop online, what about the servicing part of buying a vehicle online? There's a lot to consider with technology, innovation, and of course, just the general consensus that people have in that they don't generally trust car dealers. In many cases, there's good reason for it. In other cases, not as much. But one thing is for sure, there definitely is going to be an evolution and a changing of the dealership model. There's been lots of discussion about it in the recent past. As a person in the automotive industry, I myself have worked for car dealers. I've worked in the wrenching business, selling cars, fixing cars. I've been around cars virtually my entire life, and I've personally owned dozens of cars myself. I'm very well versed in the idea of what I like to see when I walk into a dealership, how I like to be treated, and what I actually expect from service. Now, obviously, technology is playing a major factor, and it's easy to just with a stroke of a button and a swipe of the keyboard that you're able to get on to your next car buying experience. But there's three key elements within that we need to talk about. The impact of online car buying, how dealerships are also adapting to these online purchasing experience, and the absolute growing importance of the customer review experience as well. It's very easy to find, a lot of car, business channels like Exotic Car Play Place, Easy Car Buying, for example, features a lot of very specific commentary on specific models. You want to find some of the worst cars available, some of the best cars available. Exotic Car Play Place is one of your best go-tos, or any other editorial that does feature some of these cars. It's not very difficult to find out very quickly how good a quality of one car is and the kind of problems another vehicle manufacturer is faced with, or the types of recalls you might be experiencing. So at the end of the day, digital shopping, digital browsing, and digital research is a great way for the customer to build confidence, and it's a great way to do some shopping. And literally, you don't even have to talk to many people. The second major topic is the shift to customer-centric experiences. I mean, it's not uncommon. I already spoke of this. How many people out there with one hand or no hands, can you put your hand in the air and say you trust the last dealer experience you had when you bought your last vehicle? Not many people. Most people would say the experience was marginal, dicey, questionable. And even if it went smoothly, there was always that question of, am I getting the wool pulled over my eyes? A lot of people question the integrity of car dealers and the salespeople, and really they've lost the trust, ultimately. And so the idea of getting some of that trust back and catering to the dealers, not just to the dealerships, but catering to the customers is what dealerships are most interested in now. They know they've lost trust. I mean, even with car brands like Stellantis, we've seen that their trust levels are in the toilet. Trust is a huge issue in the automotive industry, and building that trust and dealing and curtailing to the service side to the customers to build that trust and to get them to want to come back in the door or buy their product is a huge thing that has been overlooked for many years. But there's three major components to that. Focusing on transparency, creating a more welcoming and desirable experience when you're dealing with that specific dealership, and of course the integration of technology to help along the streamlining. So it just makes life easier for you, the customer, the buyer, the seller, and everybody in between. Now, another major change that you're starting to find in the automotive dealership space or the automotive industry, and you're finding it actually all over in a different industry, and that's the use of technology throughout. We're finding a lot more of that, of course. Things like chatbots, when you're having troubles and you're shopping online, and that little, hi, my name's John. If you have any questions, please ask me and I'll help you out. These little chatbots that come up and you can click on them if you're not sure where to look. It just helps guide you. These little AI features within a lot of these websites just help guide you through the process so it's not such a daunting experience. And more great technology that you'd find is augmented reality or virtual reality tech as well. Isn't it great to see those 3D renderings of that car that you're shopping for? Isn't it nice to do a 360 look inside, try different wheels, different colors, different options? It's wonderful to have that on our fingertips. You're going to see more and more of that. Better AI systems, better augmented reality, better technology that's going to look sharper, crisper, cleaner. You've already seen it. Almost every manufacturer is doing it today. But these systems are only going to get better, sharper, and easier to use as time goes on. So that does, of course, bring us to the next topic, which is the actual future of these car dealerships. I mean, we spoke of some of the things that are changing, that have changed, and they are evolving and getting even more involved. But there's three other major elements that we're looking to think about for the future of car dealerships, things that we will see major changes in as the future, comes down the road in car dealerships and what that whole model looks like. And we want to talk about those three elements because that's what you signed up for here, right? There is, of course, an emergence of subscription-based services, iCloud-based services. We see much more of that. There is a huge potential right now for the dealership model to transition from a sales and service and parts to more of a service and parts, and the sales component might be pushed off just to the dealer, just to the manufacturer level. And of course, the importance of staying ahead of the customer's needs and demands. And we know this is a constant change. We don't know what we don't know, and things are constantly changing. But at the end of the day, learning how to learn, adapt, and adjust. So once all of these changes hit the market, do you plan to buy from remotely? Do you plan to use your cell phone? How about all of the other technology available at your fingertips? Or would you prefer the old school style of car buying, going in, talking with the dealer, talking with the salesman, maybe even talking with the manager? I'd like to know your thoughts down below, which you prefer. The newer style of technology involved or the old school just person to person. The fourth story, shocking news at Stellantis. Would you believe it? They've absolutely lost all the trust by each and every one of their dealers. That's right. The dealers don't trust the manufacturer. Customers don't trust the manufacturer or the dealers. It is getting absolutely downright ugly.
Stellantis has struggled over the course of the last couple of years. Particularly this 2024 has been absolutely devastating. So much, in fact, so that a lot of customers have decided and elected to buy different vehicles, shop around. The prices have gone and escalated beyond outside of normal. And clearly they've stood out heads and tails, stuck their head above the crowd, if you will, in terms of their pricing over at Stellantis, with brands like Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler have all been significant outliers in high prices and lower quality, and now it leaves a lot of the individual dealerships in harm's way. That's right, if they can't compete, the business has nothing. As a matter of fact, we know even before the CEO Carlos Tavares has walked and he was giving his formal walking papers, at that time there was conversation about possibly some of these brands getting dissipated, getting parted out, sold to other OEMs that had the finances to back up and possibly regrow these brands. Things are grossly overinflated, customers are figuring it out, and unfortunately now for Stellantis, with sales that have declined at their peak of 2015, where they saw 2.36 million units sold, they're down to about 1.3 million sold in 2024. It's a clear indication, with a decline of 42% in sales declines as well as a 52% stock decline. The floor has literally fallen out. This shift from highly priced vehicles like these full-size trucks, these full-size SUVs with all the fancy new technology, this shift was moving over to smaller CUVs, smaller sport utility vehicles, as well as smaller, cost-effective subcompact and compact vehicles, because people don't have the money. And now, instead of people spending as much time up in that $80,000, $90,000 territory, more people were inclined to start stepping into that $20,000, $25,000 vehicles, because that's what people had left over after the cost of living crisis. That's right. People have been struggling with a lot of expensive components. Food's been expensive. We've seen housing prices go through the roof, pardon the pun, and unfortunately now vehicles as well is just more insult to injury. So people are looking for a break, and Stellantis feels in all of their infinite wisdom that they could promote themselves as being a luxury brand, and yet the customers don't see it that way. Now, sadly, this puts the dealers themselves right in the middle of the mix. If they can't sell vehicles, what do these individual franchise dealers have to do for future business? Not much at this point. So FCA's total decline in 2024 alone represented about a 15% loss just in 2024, a clear indication that people were getting done with it. But this was after the company has already seen some major drop-offs. We're also seeing Jeep losing ground every single year in the last 6 years, as well as vehicles like the Ram, sadly, is a real staple in the pickup truck barnyard. Unfortunately, these vehicles too have gone off the roof 3 years in a row. And the only reason they're even selling at all is because they're heavily incentivized. And by the latter half of 2024, Stellantis was throwing all kinds of aggressive incentives, 20, 30, 35, 40% off on some pickup trucks in some marketplaces. Rams weren't selling very well either, and Jeeps were the literal biggest losers for Stellantis as a brand. And you can directly tie the relationship between new car sales and the age of vehicles on the road today. Did you know, scale back 10 years ago, a lot of these vehicles were relatively affordable, and brand new vehicle sales were up. People would tend to buy them because they could afford them. So what you found was the average vehicle on the road about 10 years ago was about 8 years of age. Now, fast forward to 2025, and we're finding vehicles now, the average is about 12 and a half years of age on the road. That's right. Even older vehicles like my 2003 Ram here are a specialty. Now you're finding more of these older trucks like this on the road. People have electing to do brake jobs. People are putting new tires on, replacing the exhaust system, rebuilding the front end. If the engine goes, they're often replacing engine parts, maybe a new starter, water pump, even a little bit of rust. People don't mind, you know, doing a little rust repair, putting a new bumper on. You know what, just fix what they've got, and keeping that vehicle on the road a lot longer means that people are just looking for more frugal ways to keep themselves driving down the road. Instead of spending that $90,000 for a new pickup truck, a new Ram, rather, why not just fix what you've got? Even if you blow an engine and you've got to put another $8,000 into it, maybe you get another 250, 300,000 kilometers out of it. That's what people are doing now, and that's why the average vehicle on the road is getting older. People are keeping them on the road longer, and it just makes a lot more sense financially. And unfortunately, again, the dealers get caught up in the middle. What does that do? Ultimately smacks down trust. Customers don't trust the dealers don't even trust the manufacturers, and everybody distrusts each other. And what is that a recipe for? Absolute disaster. That's why manufacturers like Toyota have a high level of trust. Their customers keep coming back, and their sales are doing just fine. All cannot be said for the same thing with Stellantis. Their customers don't trust them, and the dealers don't trust the OEM, and the manufacturer doesn't trust a lot of the workers putting their products together. Hence, Stellantis is in a world of hurt.
It's a sad state of affairs, but they've literally done it to themselves. Customers have lost total faith in the automotive industry, and unfortunately, it's at a point now where people only go there when they absolutely need to, and even when they do, they totally dread it. Anxiety, stress are key words when you're talking about dealing with the car dealership. The fifth story, we're talking about Ram trucks and why are they not selling? Could it be the quality? Could it be the recalls? Could it be this new turbo inline 6-cylinder engine? Or is it something totally different? Perhaps the pricing. Maybe that's the key. A lot of you assume that it's because of the quality control and the recalls. Well, then what's Ford's excuse? Because they also have a lot of recalls, and as a matter of fact, they're leading the recall lists. Well, okay, GM's selling a lot of trucks too, so what's going on over at Ram headquarters, and why can they not sell trucks? I mean, we know that part of the issue is recalls. Part of the issue is also the fact that they've transitioned into selling only turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engines for 2025. But it goes beyond that because sales have been in the toilet for some time. Why is day supply rising to an inordinate amount for the Ram and Stellantis brand? Well, we're going to go online here and I'm going to share with you exactly what's going on because we're going to check out Car Gurus and we're going to do some searches. The lowest priced vehicles, look around a little bit, and we're going to look at some of the highest priced vehicles. Well, we've kind of narrowed down and I've prioritized the search from the lowest to the highest, okay, in terms of dollars and cents. I mean, you can prioritize it however you want. But what we're looking at, we see at the very bottom, you're saying, well, look, there's some affordable trucks. And here we have a 1500 Classic Tradesman, $35,000. And we also have a 23 Tradesman 1500 for $40,000. Now, that's not an extreme amount of money. It's not cheap. They're not giving it away. But remember, Canadian dollars, it's a little bit worse than the US. Now, let's take a look at this over here. Why don't we look at a 2023 Car Guru says it's $40,000, 198. Let's take a look, because remember, 2023, we have vehicles now that are infringing on 2 years of age. So that's going to be a problem. You're going to see issues, with the tires here. These tires are going to be potentially flat spotting. They're going to start developing fissures and cracks. And that's going to be an issue as these trucks age. And the longer they sit on the lot, the worse it is. Fluids probably haven't been changed, and the batteries are draining too. Average battery only lasts about 5 to 7 years now. So these vehicles become more problematic as you buy them brand new. But this one here is a 23 model year 1500 Classic Tradesman quad cab 4x4. And let's scroll down and let's see what we've got going on here. This is gives you the 3.6 liter V6, so it's not their best engine. Yeah, it is what it is, right? So let's take a look here, and what we see, a vehicle that okay, high mileage new vehicle. Also, here's the scoop. So it's got 12,000 miles on it, or I think they mean kilometers, but they don't say that. It's 12,000 miles because it was used as a service loan or test drives. This one, even though it's brand new, shows right down here 443 days on the car lot. So you're kind of moving on a year and a half, it's got a birthday. It's going on 2 birthdays here right away. And quite honestly, what does that one actually go for? So currently, if you're wondering how much a truck that price goes for, if we're looking at $40,000, just for curiosity's sake, what if we look at this? They say the vehicle price is 40 grand. It's going to cost you $854 a month. Let's say you put 0 down for 5 years at 9.99%. Is a pretty bad rate, but that's kind of what it is. That's kind of what you're expecting to pay, is about $900 a month for this truck. And this is basically a used, brand new tradesman. Oh, 87. Okay, we've stepped up. Here, how much? 87 grand. Okay, here's a 25 Laramie crew cab. 4-wheel drive. A 2025 brand new Laramie, which we know Laramie is a pretty high spec for Ram. Crew cab, all-wheel drive, or 4-wheel drive. $88,000. My goodness. Okay, this one gives you the 3-liter inline 6, okay? So we're talking Hurricane engine in this one now. Not that 3.6, this is the 3-liter. So it's the newer engine. And take your chances. I've heard that there's more plastic under the hood here, so time will tell on the durability. Price has decreased. Look at that. Price went down by $3,515. So they've actually already dumped the price on this by $3,500 on this truck. And it's only been on the lot for, it's going on 2 months, right? 60 days would be obviously a full 2 months, but this one here has been around for almost 2 months. 2 months, they can't sell it. They've dropped the price for $3,500, and it's current generation, so they're probably not super inclined to dump the price a lot, hence 35 versus the 10 or 15 grand we're finding on some of the older generational stuff. But for an 87, how much is this? $87,000. Actually, let's take a look at what a Laramie looks like, shall we? Okay, nice wheels. Look, you'll notice you've got that flip-up side bed. Good looking truck though, hey? You've got the running boards down there. That's nice. You're $1,900 a month, folks. If you're taking this truck, this $87,000 truck on a 5-year car loan at 9.99%, be prepared. Hold on to those shorts. Everybody wonders, what about the tungsten? The tungsten was supposed to be the highest trim level of kind of the more standard pickup truck. It would sort of almost be like the Ford and the Lariat or the Platinums and all those premium models. Let's take a look here. RHO. And here's a limited. Oh boy, here's a limited. Limited crew cab 4-wheel drive. Okay, 1,500 limited crew cab all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. $113,000 for this. Gives you the 3-liter inline 6, 22 miles, it's brand new. It's been on the lot for 85 days, 3 months, and it's going to cost you $3,700 a month. How does that one look inside? Oh, that's a good looking truck. Totally cool. You got those flip-up door bed parts. You can't put a canopy on that unit. Nice wheels, front grill's pretty cool on there. Nothing too fancy. I like the headlights, look at that. Pretty cool. They're really dressed up these trucks very nicely. There's your 3-liter. Pretty nice looking ride. Not everybody loves that shifter, the rotary knob. You wonder about a tungsten. Hey, here's a tungsten right there. $111,000 for a brand new tungsten. 112 grand. 112 grand for a brand new tungsten, 0 miles. And what else we got? No, nothing there. 3-liter, 0 miles, 3-liter straight 6. 11 days. So it doesn't even look like they got the guy out there yet to take the pictures of the truck. So it's that new yet. It's barely been on the lot for a week. So probably around New Year's, they rolled it in on a truck. What are they thinking, everybody? The price went up by $8,369. Hasn't Stellantis, hasn't Ram Stellantis learned something from what they saw in the last 2023, 4, and then this last year, not selling trucks or cars or SUVs? Discounts is what it takes. Price, money talks. Ram, and what we're looking at, possibly faced with 30-35%. I've heard even maybe as high as 50% across the board price decreases or slashes across their lineup. If that happens here in 25, that's going to absolutely decimate the market, and the truck market can literally go upside down here in a hurry. So we'll wait and see how that shakes out here in 25. But as it stands right now, is it any wonder they're not selling when their top trim level tungstens are $112,000, $13,000? And even, a basic 23 with a V6 is 40 grand. I mean, things aren't cheap. People are looking for a deal. Yes, it's clear that Ram has clearly priced themselves out of the market with vehicles as much as $140,000, $150,000, even a garden variety top trim non-off-road version for $113,000. Absolutely devastating. It's no wonder sales are in the tank. Customers don't have the money, and quite frankly, they're tired of paying that kind of cash anyhow. And with all of that said, you missed some of these previous car news right there. Check out that Krusty Car News, as well as another great episode of Krusty Car News right there. You're going to want to check them out if you've missed them. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.